Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Physical Challenge Podcast. I'm your host today, Mehdi, and I'm with Eddie here. Eddie, how are you feeling today?
I'm okay. We took a little bit of a break because some of us were busy last week, so ready to get back into the swing of things.
Yes. Our schedules got a bit mixed up. Josh went on holiday, didn't specify how long, but we'll figure that out a bit later. But as we said on our last podcast, we're going to be talking about a Korean TV show called The Physical 100 today. And before we start jumping into it, Lone, what did you think about the show from the outset? Like just the name, like without even watching an episode, what did you think about it?
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot about it. It's been getting a lot of publicity, not necessarily publicity or promo, but like a lot of people have been watching it, and a lot of people have been recommending it as a show to watch. So I was always interested in it. I've seen other shows on Netflix that are like this one. Like they had another show that was similar to this called Ultimate Beastmaster that was a couple years ago. So it's not like their first foray into producing these kind of shows, but
I
yeah, I
think
was just interested to see like what they did with it since it's not like a kind like it's a specific type of show that's not like done by a lot of different networks.
I think what was interesting about it is that like because it is a Korean TV show, it doesn't seem like even though it is a competition show, it didn't seem like the type of show that would be on Netflix per se. Like I think their Netflix is really trying to delve into like more of the foreign like types of TV shows. And I think they really like I think this was a smash hit on their part for from what I've seen. Um Going in as well, just to express my opinion a little bit, is like I heard the waves on Twitter, everyone's like, "Oh, this show is great. This show is great." And I'm like, "Okay." I check out the trailer and like it seems like an interesting concept from the outset, but like once you actually start diving into episode 1 and 2, it's kind of a bit different than I thought it'd be. Um but let's just talk about the basic format of the show. So the basic format is they have 100 contestants. Makes sense. The show's called The Physical 100. The contestants are like they show their strength in different ways. Some of them are boxers, some of them are weightlifters, Olympic athletes. One of them was a YouTuber, a bodybuilder, an MMA fighter. Um, a lot of the faces aren't going to be recognized by like a Western audience, but I noticed one of the only people I noticed on the cast was that one MMA fighter that they were like kind of hyping up. So I thought his intro was interesting, and I also found like, what did you think about the beginning? How everyone like just came in and it's it was interesting because like they every time someone came in, they started hyping up the next dude. So it was kind of like, oh, here comes the challenger, and here comes another challenger. So what'd you think of that?
Well, it was very long for one. It took up like almost half the episode. I was like, is anything ever gonna happen like besides this? But
So you
I
didn't
think it
like
was
it?
interesting to like see basically everybody as they all came in, they were like sizing each other up. I was kind of surprised that like they went through all 100 people, I think, or close to. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was interesting to see like because like there were people like that knew each other, and you said how you said there was like athletes and then just regular people. I think that's part of like the interesting draw to the show is that like it's not just like it's people from all walks of life. You have like just YouTubers, just random people who like to work out, and then there's like athletes, and like some of these athletes like know each other. People know like that one famous guy you were talking about. Everybody knows him. He's like really famous. Obviously, like I'm from the Western civilization, so I don't know any of these people, but it was just interesting to see them like get their first you know look at their competition and like sizing each other up, but like they're also pretty friendly with each other at the same time.
Well, that's kind of like a trademark of the Korean reality shows. Like you won't see a lot of animosity per se, like outwardly, but you'll see like slight jabs that like they might take at each other, but it's always like in a respectful manner. But one thing that I found interesting is like you'll see these dudes and these women and like they'll be like these are just like works of nature, like they're massive, and then like someone else will come in and be like, oh my god, I watched you on TV, I watched your videos, and then you see them turn into like a 12-year-old kid or something. So I just thought that's what happened a couple of times. They're like, oh my god, that's him, that's the legend of this dude. I'm like, goodness gracious, like you're like it was a fun little tidbit when they were meeting each other. I would agree it was a bit long for like what it was, but I think they were trying to like lay out the characters a bit, and they tend to do that a lot on Korean shows, like these type of shows. So like I was okay with it, but I can see how it could be like annoying. You like kind of wanted to get to the action, to the premise of the show. So yeah, so they bring out these 100 contestants. They bring them out, and every contestant has their name on a bust of their body, of their torso, and it has their physical characteristics. So what do you think of that? Did you think that? I thought that was a cool little like tidbit to like represent like their standing in the game. What do you think of that? The little bust they had.
Yeah, it's kind of like a concept of like that we've seen before, like on other shows where it's like, oh, you have a picture to represent yourself, but like the way, like later on, we'll get into it later, but like the mechanism of like how they're eliminated, it's just like something that's totally unique to the show. I thought it was like very innovative.
I thought it was very dramatic, but it makes sense for like the show. So the contestants are there, and this what would you say? This voice comes and something projects on the screen, and it's like you guys are competing for 300 million won, and to get 300 million won, which I converted it, is 227,000 USD. So like,
I got $2,000. I don't know
yeah,
what you were using.
did you do three? What do you mean 300 million won?
Yeah, hold on. I did. I went into Google and I did 300 million won to US dollars, and it said like, yeah, it says $2,269. I don't know what you're using.
You're missing a decimal. It's 300 million. So for 300 million, you would have eight decimals. How much
Oh,
are
I
you?
think I did three. I don't know what I did. I see it now.
Yeah. So it's 227,000 USD, which isn't that much money, like comparative to some of the other shows we see. But when everyone's like, the reactions to it's like, oh, everyone's like, oh, this is life changing money. This is life changing money. I'm like, ooh, like this is even that was quite interesting that everyone's reaction to that. So basically, they put out the format. The format is that we have 5 quests, and through these 5 quests, the goal of the show is to show what is they want to find what the perfect physique is, whether it's like one of the bulkier physiques, one of the leaner physiques. Like it's like not all encompassing. Like when it comes to like showing strength, and I found that interesting, and that is showcased like thoroughly through the first challenge, or I guess a pre-challenge before quest one. So, Lone, do you want to talk about that pre-challenge if you remember it?
Yeah, so they basically had like a qualifier, but no one got eliminated like from the competition. Like in this round, it's just like basically for an advantage in the first like official quest. So they were all in this room, and they stepped onto. I think that yeah, they stepped onto like a number or whatever. It doesn't matter for now, but it's gonna matter later on. And there's um this bar this bar system that's above them, and they have to hold on to this bar for as long as they can. And the floor that they were on, it like I guess you could say it like parts in half, and there's like a big like water pit, so they don't know how deep this pit is or anything, but they're gonna drop in the water whenever they like fall off the bar. So whoever the bar system the longest is the one who's gonna get the advantage. So it turns out at the end that like based on how long they lasted, or whoever lasts first in each. Or first, I thought it was whoever lasts first in each heat, but basically they ranked them by time, and whoever like had the fastest time got to pick the person that they would face in the later the next quest.
Let's we'll go to that in a little bit. Just on the hanging structure challenge. So what'd you think of that? Because it was pretty basic, but like when you were looking at the times, like a lot of these people were like crapping out after like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and I was thinking like how hard would this be to just because I don't know if you were allowed to do this because like some of the people were like resting their hands, like that one dude was resting his hands on both bars and just like swinging his legs and kind of just getting the bar to support his body weight. So I was thinking, if you could move your legs, like let's say no one was beside you, if you could like literally like pull your legs up and rest your legs on the other bars and just lay back flat on your back, wouldn't like do you think they'd allow that or do you think that's kind of like breaking the challenge?
I don't know. There's a lot of. It seems like there's a lot of like either not explained rules or like hidden rules that we don't know like coming up throughout the whole thing. I feel like it's kind of like they might be just making it up as it goes along in terms of the rules.
Well, I'm just overthinking that challenge because like theoretically it's hard for, especially for a lot of the big dudes is to like swing your legs up and like rest it on the thing, like I'm assuming. And who's to say like another contestant can't just like trip you or something, right? So and they did this in two batches of 50. So in the first batch, I just like noted down like the finalists because I thought it was a bit interesting. So they had like this gymnast that's been a gymnast for 21 years versus this dude that's I don't know what this is specifically, but I think it's like a XWDT instructor. I put him down as
Oh,
like an
UDT.
yeah, sorry. That. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but they were the final two. And what I found interesting about it is that the army guy was just staring the gymnast in the eye the whole time, like
Oh
while
yeah.
they were the final two. And the gymnast got so uncomfortable that he tried to shift his body position just not to meet this guy's glare. So like even though the gymnast in theory should have the advantage like physically because he's done stuff like this before, the army guy's like mental fortitude kind of like you could feel like the intensity just by a stare. What do you think of that?
Yeah, so I looked it up, and the UDT is basically like it's part of like the military, which is what I thought. But it's underwater demolition teams, so it's like special forces. Like so, there's like a lot of different people on this show that are like part of special forces in Korea. So I guess that was like a military versus military like setup. But yeah, it was interesting how like it kind of became like a mind game. They were like trying to like intimidate each other and stare each other down. Stare each other down. And I just thought it was interesting how like they were like putting so much effort into this, but even like a real like round, it was just like an extra round. I don't know. I feel like you'll see later on that like people go into more their strategy of what they did like in this preliminary round, but I just felt like you should try to save like your energy for like the main round because you don't know what that's gonna be. You don't know like how close it's gonna be like to the end of like this preliminary round. So I don't know. That's just the way I feel like I would have probably attacked it.
To combat your point there, like conserving energy, yes, that's good. Like, and we don't know how much time's passed since they start the quest one. But the thing is, they didn't really particularly know what the advantage was. So, like, if what if the advantage was like, oh, like it's like more like that's the thing. Like they go into it blind, so them not knowing like having any little like advantage could be helpful. So like I get like, oh, let's conserve my energy for the later rounds, but we wouldn't even know what the later rounds be. Like it could be like something similar. Like it could be another endurance type challenge, and you prove that you're not good at. And you kind of I don't know, like, and what if they had this component where like you have like there's kind of a disadvantage when you lose, but like, what if they had like more of like an explicit disadvantage if you like drop first, you know? So like, it's weird as a contestant going in like not trying your all, but I get not wanting to expend all your energy though. Um, and for the second and so, spoilers here. Should we do spoilers of who won this one?
Yeah.
So spoilers. The gymnast lost. Surprisingly, lost to the UDT instructor, which was I found shocking. I thought the gymnast had it in the bag, so that was interesting. And then we go to the second batch of people, and the second batch of people, it came down to the firefighter versus the MMA fighter, and I just think like that these two perfect. Well, I got a question for you, built on this. Like, depending on the professions that like kind of made it to the end of this preliminary round, like, what do you think like for this hanging challenge? What do you think like the best like build was, and what do you think like the best like profession was to like have like advantage doing this? Because
Yeah, so a lot of this, like when I was watching this, I had flashbacks of like American Ninja Warrior and like Ninja Warrior, because that's kind of the same type of competition as this. So there's a lot of like in Ninja Warrior, there's a lot of like hanging obstacles like this. So I felt like from what I know from that, it's usually like people that like do like tasks that are like with endurance. So I don't know, like rock climbers, that kind of thing. But I think like the one guy who said he's like a resource. I don't remember what exactly they call it, but like a resource team or something. Like the people that like help the
yeah,
help
I know.
rescue like a rescue person.
Yeah. That guy, the I think it's like the I think it's army rescue. It's some sort or rock. It was like rock climbing rescue or something. It was something like crazy like that. Yeah, that I think
Yes.
that builds a good base. Uh, but to speak on your point a little bit, but isn't it Ninja Warrior? It's more of like here it's just a straight static, like pulling your weight up. Isn't Ninja Warrior more like obstacles, like obstacle courses? Sorry.
I mean, yeah, it's obstacle courses, but there's a lot of the obstacles like focus on specific like disciplines, I guess you can say, like strength or and then like once it gets like towards the later rounds, like it have also has like some more format like with the different rounds and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I think later rounds it's more like endurance and trying to test specific skills as opposed because like more like the preliminary rounds is where it's more like obstacles and going like from one thing to another. But like some of the other ones, I guess it's different. I'm not sure. I haven't watched like I used to watch like Ninja Warrior all the time, and I mean like I could see like kind of see like the influence of it because like that came from like Sasuke, which is like a Japanese show. So you know, there's definitely like some similarities in like between like the two types of shows.
Yeah, no, I agree. But here, correct me if I'm wrong. In Ninja Warrior, like just to build on the question I asked, isn't it more kind of like the lean body types that like excel in Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, there's yeah, that's what I was gonna say, which is that yeah, I feel like for like the hanging obstacles like this, it's more the lean people because like like we obviously saw like the bigger people like in this were struggling probably because they have more mass and more weight to like hold. Like you saw a lot of people in this were like basically doing like muscle ups and like keeping their entire body like a big like above the bar, but like once you have a lot of mass to hold on to, it's going to be harder to hold on like overall, especially because you're basically like controlling your all of your body mass like just through your arms. So yeah, usually the people that are not necessarily like skinny but just have like a thinner build are the ones that are more successful and stuff like this.
Yeah, the leaner muscle. Like that's yeah, um okay, before we move on to like what the results of this little challenge meant, uh how long do you think you could last on this?
Well, I was kind of surprised because it seemed like I mean like I think both of the heats were around like 15 minutes. I don't know. I feel like this is one of those shows that like like there's always those shows that are like dang I should like work out more. Like I feel like a slob watching this, so I don't think I could last that long.
I'm telling you right now, I can last a good 25 seconds, maybe. The
I was gonna say 25. What?
25 seconds, but what the holding my whole body weight, man, doing a pull-ups hard enough, holding my whole body weight for
Yeah,
enough, it is intense and like that, like it's not gonna feel comfortable at all. And one slip up, like I got clammy hands. I slip up once, it's done. So like I
you're
don't think
gonna
I
be
can
like
last that long in here.
you're gonna be like that guy who fell off like as soon as like they got off the ground or whatever, or like as soon as the floor collapsed from under them, he fell off in like 30 seconds. Not even.
No, keep the note on that guy. Keep the note on that guy. I want to talk about him later. He's more interesting than I thought he'd be. Um, so Lone touched on this a little bit, but like, you mind explaining now, like what the results of the challenge meant, like in terms like of the rating
Oh
system?
yeah, so basically it was like I said, it was kind of different from what I expected because I thought it was gonna be like, oh, like the top people in each heat, are given the advantage or whatever. But basically, they had all of the times of all the 100 people overall, and that's how they like numbered them into like a ranking system. So first, they came into like this hall or whatever, and the bottom 50 came in and they took their place, whatever number they were in the ranking, 50 through 100. And then after that, the top 50 finishers took their places, and their places are like higher up elevation in the room, so they can like basically look down. It was kind of intimidating for like the rest of them. They're basically the top 50 is basically looking down on the bottom 50, and the top 50 finishers get to determine not only who they're competing against in the first quest, but also the choice of the two different types of arena that they're competing in. I was kind of confused because in later, like during the first round, when you get more in depth on who they picked and why they picked each arena, you see that like this all happened at the same time, like them picking like their opponent and the arena. But the way it was presented to us, we only saw the part about like picking their opponent, and then after that, they told us like, oh, there are these two different types of arenas that they could do their first quest in.
Yeah. To touch on the plat, I loved that scene when they brought the first 50 out, like the from 100 to 50, and they're just staring up at like the top 50, and they're just seething. They're like, oh, like they really think they're better than us. Like they really like kind of built this like built a little bit of animosity. Like, oh, like this is the top 50. Like it kind of like it was kind of like a allegory towards like some sort of classism, and I thought that was like really interesting and fun because you could see like people on the bottom 50 were like, you could see that like a chip is on their shoulder now. So like, okay, I'm in the bottom 50 now, but like challenge me, like let's see what happens. So I thought that was fun. Ooh, oh, sorry, my
Yeah,
computer.
not only that, but like it kind of like builds in like even the people who don't have like as much of a story behind them. It kind of like builds in rivalry because it's like you didn't think like no, not only is it like, oh, I'm trying to like these people who are in the bottom, they want to beat these people in the top to prove like that the bottom, like them being in the bottom was like a fluke. And not only that, but like they want to prove that they should be where they are, and that yeah, I had another point there, but I lost it.
It's all right. On that one note that you were talking about, the number one ranked person is if I'm butchering this, whatever. Kim Min Shul. He's a mountain rescue and he's an ice climber. That's what he does. So I was wondering what he does. I took a little note down. So he's the number one ranked person. And as the number one ranked person, he gets to pick not anyone from the bottom 50, anyone on the board to to take on. You would think conventional law knowledge would be like, okay, let's go to the bottom 50 to give me the best chance of winning. But Kim Min Chul doesn't do that. He immediately picks someone from the top 50 to challenge, which was interesting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought that was like another interesting part of the mechanic was that you could pick anyone because a lot of people were. I mean, it didn't happen that often. Most people were like picking from the opposite, like their opposite group, but like you did have like the potential for some people to pick people that were like within their like within their like percentile or whatever. Um, yeah, you could. It's really all about like for you can see for a lot of them it was just about who they thought they could stack up with well. A lot of them didn't really take into consideration the top 50 or the bottom 50 because honestly that didn't really matter later on. It's more about like who you think you can match up with, and like even if this is just one aspect of the whole competition, like just because this person placed in the bottom 50 doesn't mean that they're like a weak person at all. As you can see later, like even there were a lot of times where the person who determined the matchup was the one who lost in the end.
What did you think about this before we move on to where I describe what Quest One is and what the people will be doing in this? It's in this battle. Um, so I saw a thing where a man can pick a woman to go into the death match, and I was kind of surprised they were going that route. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because a lot of these shows you have like the competitions are basically split by gender, but with this like with the rankings you could see like it was a mix. Like it wasn't like, oh, this is the men's 50 or the men's 100, because I don't even know if the split is even like 50 men 50 women, so that obviously probably wouldn't even make sense if they tried to do it that way.
I don't think
But
it
yeah.
is. No,
Yeah.
so the first matchup, if I remember correctly, is I like I mean honestly, I I think it was between the I think he was a farmer versus this skinnier model dude. And so they go directly at it, and for some reason like one of them just doesn't run to the middle of the arena. So they're playing in kind of like a ball pit arena that's full of water. This is the first matchup. Actually, maybe I should explain the death match. Sorry. So Quest One is a death match. 50% of the people competing are going to be out. So this is an easy way to get from 100 to 50 real quick. So basically, the person that the ranked higher gets to pick their opponent and their arena. And the first person that won gets to pick his opponent in the arena. So, from my recollection, the first matchup was this farmer dude that's a bit bigger and this skinnier model. Oh no, he's a dancer. He's a dancer. He was a dancer. He doesn't have any other background other than being a dancer. So they go in the arena and they just go straight in and start wrestling. And what's interesting about it is some people have a strategy. What I've noticed from the first death match, some people have the strategy where like this is weird. He'll throw the ball away and then they'll just wrestle instead of like in other death matches where you'll see the guy take the ball and just run around the like obstacle course. What do you think about that?
About like the strategy of just
Yeah, like it's very ego focused, like like tossing the ball and just like mano a mano going at each other, and then just seeing who's going to tire out first. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an odd strategy, but I've seen a lot of the different people use it. So, what do you think of that? Do you think it's just
yeah.
like a ego thing, or
Yeah, I think it depends on like how confident you are in your wrestling ability, because like this isn't supposed to be a wrestling show. Like it's supposed to be just like who has like the most physical prowess and the most brute strength. But then I don't know. I feel like either way, there's ways to like get tired out either way. Because if you're just gonna like have the ball and run around with it, then you could just tire out by just running to exhaustion. But like I feel like um the way you were saying like with people wrestling for it, it might have like taxed their body more, like both ways, like for the aggressor and the person who's like the underdog, because a lot of times you saw like people weren't as aware of like the clock, because keep in mind like these are timed. That's not just like,
3 minutes?
yeah, each one is 3 minutes. So and if no one has the ball at the end of the 3 minutes, then it goes to a 1 minute overtime. But I feel like a lot of people lost the objective of like of you having to have the ball, which is why all the people in the audience would have to tell them like, oh, there's this much time, because they have to go for the ball. And even a lot of times, like they didn't even. Sometimes I feel like they wouldn't have like even thought about going for the ball at the end, and sometimes they didn't even get the ball at the end. So yeah, it was interesting to see that that was like the dominant prevailing strategy for most people, even though it didn't really take into account what the main objective of the round was, actually was.
Okay, I seem like I just jumped right into it. So like just let me go over what okay, so the death match is there's a I think a ball, I think as big as a beach ball, right? But probably
It reminded me like a medicine ball,
it's probably a
but it
bit
was probably bigger than
small.
that.
I think it's a bit smaller because they could fit their whole hand around it. So I think it's a bit smaller. So oh, it is a medicine ball. I was thinking about like an exercise ball. It's probably the size of a medicine ball. Um, so they have that in the middle of each arena. They have actually, if you notice, there's a little tidbit where both two matches are actually happening always at once,
Yeah,
but the show will highlight that specific match of the story they're trying to tell. So it'll be placed in the center circle, and then two of the contestants will be behind these small little like gates. And when the clock goes out, and then they run out, and then they proceed to try to retrieve the ball. What is interesting is that both arenas, I can see how the different strategies prevail. Like in that arena where it's more circular and kind of more cut off, like that pit, I feel like it's harder to like do a speed rush or like trying to run away. So I guess that makes sense why like they like challenge each other in like that physical aspect. You know what I mean?
yeah.
See,
Also, yeah, the fact that like the two, I don't know if I was like getting ahead of you, but like the fact that the two arenas, they're like two different surfaces, and like I think that's why like there's a lot of like boxers and that kind of thing in this competition. So like one of them said, I think like a lot of them feel like more at home and like that kind of thing because it's kind of like a wrestling ring and there's wrestlers, so they probably would gravitate more towards that type of arena versus like the other arena is more of like a playground with like grass and like different obstacles you can use to try to evade other person. So that would probably be more focused towards someone who thinks that they're like quicker, agile, that might not have as much success in like a more traditional like wrestling kind of uh environment.
well, I was gonna say the second arena is like you said it yourself. It's a playground, but like I find it so much more interesting because in a later death match that I'm going to talk about is although it's or like it's clearly like an arena that should be used for more like I'd say speed or like innovative work instead of straight wrestling and physical like physicality. But like this one guy just changes it and just does whatever like he does, sticks to what he wants to do and kind of turns it into like something with how Arena 1 is. But like on the note of Arena 2, so here's what's interesting. We talked about that guy, the first guy to drop out, that dropped out of that challenge in like 10 seconds. Well, apparently that was his plan. His plan was to look weak so that when whatever challenge happened, someone would underestimate him and then they'd go and then he'd catch him off guard. So what do you think about that? That little reveal where he's like, "Oh, did you believe him or did you like what do you think of that?"
Yeah, I was like, yeah, strategy king. I just thought it was interesting to see that like he was basically trying to psych everyone out and that he actually like put thought into what he did because I think part of what he said, like I was saying earlier, was that he was trying to like save his energy also as well for the next because he knew that like this that the next round would be like what would be more important. So I thought it was another like interesting different type of strategy to try to gain it. Like he's also trying to gain his own kind of advantage in a way because he thinks that like he can have he has an even like chance against anyone, while the other person who's picking them is just like, oh, this is a scrub, I'm gonna like cakewalk over him easily. But is just like on a side note, isn't deathmatch like the genius, like what they call it in the genius?
Yeah, that's usually what the eliminations are called. They're called the death match.
Yeah, I think here they just like say like one-on-one match or whatever. But
They
I
don't
was like, you keep
they don't
saying
call it death.
deathmatch.
Are you sure they don't call it death match? Do they not?
I'm pretty sure it's just like one-on-one. Like for this, it's just one-on-one match.
Let's see. We
I
have
don't
the
know. I sent you like a link of something I found online with like all the matches listed, but it just says match there. But I think I don't specifically remember them saying anything about death. But that's you
yeah.
probably trying to make it more dramatic than it is.
It was death. On the note of this battle between these two, this was a straight speed battle. The guys both rush in. They're in a playground area. They're wrestling a little bit. Like he's pushing him away, and then like the guy that was number 100 flicks his like elbow in the way, and he catches that guy flush on the jaw.
Oh yeah,
And they had a little bit of a medical like break where like they paused the death match. Oh, sorry, they paused the 1-on-1, and they kind of looked at him. And after that, I guess because of that foul, the other guy got the ball.
yeah.
And from there, the last 2 minutes was this speedy guy, the guy that initially had the ball, like running around the map, like running around the map, running around the arena, trying to catch this guy. And he's like doing new innovative like ways to catch him. He's like jumping through the things. He was like a spider monkey. Like he was doing some like crazy stuff. So
That's
what do you think?
exactly what I. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was, a spider monkey.
I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this 1-on-1. It was so much more entertaining than I thought it was going to be because there was like little moments where he was like, "Oh," like he was gonna like he caught his leg because I think the second he catches his leg or catches one of it, like any part of his body and holds on, there's a chance of him doing something. But even them knowing that that wasn't going to happen, I feel like the show built a lot of like tension to like make it like, oh, he can do it. So what do you think of the match as a whole?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting one, and it's kind of interesting that they like put this one like in the beginning of the matches to highlight. Another thing is that like obviously they're not gonna show like all 50 matches or whatever it is. There's just not the time. Like there's a reason why they like as Mehdi said, there's a reason why they like had two of them going on at the same time because it would just take too long to have them do each one. But it like it seems like the other contestants that were watching, it seems like when they were watching one, they were primarily watching that one and not like people split in between the different ones. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting match to highlight first, and it was like entertaining because of partly because of what you said, like with the foul or whatever. And I think that was part of what I was trying to allude to. Rules is that like we didn't get any explanation of that. Granted, like it's kind of like other shows where you don't expect that to happen, so they probably didn't really have a role like built in for it. They kind of probably just played it by ear because like who's gonna expect something like that to happen? But um, the the guy that had got like the elbow to the jaw, like he seemed fine enough, and like I don't know if they per se cleared him, but like he was personally felt okay to continue. So yeah, that was interesting.
I think it kind of made sense. Like although they've been doing a lot of wrestling and slamming and stuff, you never actually seen someone get like cleanly hit. And I guess like a medical like that makes sense. If like the like I thought it was like I thought it was kosher. I thought it made sense that like the other dude got the ball. But I could see how it'd be unfair. But I really enjoyed that one. Lone, you were describing how like before earlier that like there's like an interesting way in which people like are shown to be eliminated. Do you want to extrapolate a little bit on that? What happens when someone loses this 1-on-1?
Yeah, so like Mindy was saying earlier, they all every player has like this bust of their torso that like represents who they are. Like it represents them in the game because they're trying to basically find like the most physical person, the most fit physique. So whenever someone's eliminated from like the quest, they have to go down to like this corridor that like has their bust in it and they have to like break it. So I've never seen anything like this. I think first of all, like just like me is like a person who likes the behind the scenes. It's like, well, they had to like get all these people, like all 100 contestants, had to come in before the show, and they had to like get this mold made of them. I think that's interesting. And then you even see like one of the contestants like, I don't get to take this home with me. So yeah, I thought it was like an interesting way to like have them in their time on the show. They Some of them like are really frustrated, and you can see that they like take it out on like the statue or whatever. So not only is it just like, oh, for visual effect, but also for some people it was kind of like cathartic because it gave them a chance to like, accept their defeat, and also like get their emotions out, after, like, because this is immediately after they lose. So I thought it was very innovative for them.
Well, you're right. Like it was kind of cathartic for them, like kind of destroying the image of them being the perfect physique, because like clearly based on the premise of this show, you lost, so you crush your own physique, meaning okay, you admit that you're not the best, basically, and that's hard for a lot of these people because like to be in such like a lot of these people to be in such like high physical shape. I think it takes a lot of like discipline, and also it takes a lot of ego and pride. And I think like it hurts a lot of them to like just admit like, okay, I was bested. So I think it was very nice metaphorically, and like it was very pleasing to me as a viewer. I think we're about to go. We'll go through the two more death matches because the third death match in this episode ends on a cliffhanger, and I would like to discuss that one in a future episode if we could. So
Okay.
the next death match I'd like to talk about is the one between the two female boxers. We have one of them that's a WCB World Heavyweight Champion that has not been beaten in 14 years, and another one's an upstart. I think she's the WBA champion. I don't know specifically, but they've never met in the ring. They're in the same division, but they know of each other. So this built like kind of a storyline going into their death match. So when the younger of them, I don't like saying the younger one, but like the the junior, they go by junior and senior
I
in
mean, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She said that she was her senior. Hold on, I was gonna see if I could find the names. But
they,
yeah,
they
go ahead.
they go by junior and senior a lot in Korean culture. So so the junior challenged the senior, and they had a little bit of trash talk, and so the death match starts, and it's in the pit, and this death match is nasty. Like they're slamming, they're elbowing, they're like, it is. And then this girl finally gets her around, gets her into a body triangle, rear naked choke, holds her there for a nice 2 minutes. You see a confessional of the senior boxing professional. She's like MMA. She's using MMA. That's cheap. And it was just there was so much like they built a very concrete storyline like really quickly, and I felt like that added to the stakes of this one on one. So eventually, the junior holds her there for a bit, lays her down, and eventually, within the last like I think this was like a photo finish. She got her within the last like 10 seconds. She released her and she got her within like the last second and grabbed it and won the death. I'm gonna keep on. I'm referring it to as a death match. That's it. She won that death match. So that was a fun little thing. I'm wondering if they ever meet in the ring. That's like another like storyline that could come into it. But like, what do you think of this death match?
Yeah, I was kind of confused because I think I was thinking that like they had, like met in the ring before, but I feel like if they had met in the ring before, like we would have known. They would have like, highlighted that. But
They should have
yeah, I
highlighted.
guess yeah, I guess the senior one is just like so well known that it's like, oh, she's bound to know her because she's in her same sport. But yeah, that was interesting because they're probably gonna like somehow meet up in the future, but like they first got in contact with each other probably because of this show. So that's part of like the aspect of what I was saying earlier with them being professional athletes, is that like these people know each other, so there's some kind of like built-in, I don't know, like you said earlier with the people that were like fanboying or whatever, like a lot of these people are known by each other in culture, so I think it kind of raises the stakes because it's like not only do you like you'll see later that like people want to challenge the MMA fighter that's really popular, but also they might like think of some of them as like their idols or have a lot of adoration for them. So either they want to beat them or like they might have like a lessened opinion of them if they feel like they lose to someone who's not as adequate or doesn't have the skills that they do. But yeah, going back to like this specific match, it might have. I think it probably was one of the more interesting ones that were highlighted, and I'm also interested in like how they choose which matches to highlight because later on you'll see that some of them are just like we like when I was watching Ninja Warrior, they called it like a fast, or people in the community call it a fast forward. It's basically like your entire match or your entire run isn't shown for some reason or another because I guess they don't feel like it's entertaining enough to be highlighted.
Or it just might be like not like concurrent to the actual like overall storyline. Like someone might just be like they might not make it that far, or like they don't have like sometimes like I think the showrunners can't just create a story. There has to be like something there. So like I think if there was, because especially in these type of TV shows, they love to show like they don't like skipping a lot of like, if they can show a story, they'll show a story. You can see that why they showed like in the beginning where they showed like 100 contestants. Like they're not going to do that unless like there's possibility of like good storylines, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that was a great match. We head into this match is the final match I would like to talk about in this episode. So through this, we've talked about episode 1 and 2 so far, and this match is between the guy that's an arm wrestling champion
Yeah.
versus. Uh, I think he used to be he was a a teacher and a senior, and he's a much like lighter man than him, and they face off at the arena, not the arena. Their arena of choice is the park. So they're facing off against the park. And this whole time, this arm wrestling champion guy is his confidence is oozing. It is over what you can like seep it through the screen. You kind of want this guy to lose with how confident he is. And I don't like picking sides usually in these shows, but he was quite arrogant. So when he got picked to get challenged. He's like, oh, this scrawny guy's picking me. Like that, he's gonna really see what happens, right? And so like he gets picked, and then they're going into this. The scrawny guy said, I don't know if I call him scrawny guy. Sorry, the student teacher says he said I picked him because I can outrun him, and I think I can tire him out. I think this all comes down to the first 5 seconds, and if I can get the ball and I can just run around the arena, and then he's not going to be able to catch me, or I'm going to tire him out. So the match starts. They both rush towards the ball. The student teacher rushes too fast. He holds the ball for a second. It slips out of his hand, and the arm wrestle guy has it. He holds it. He takes the ball into a corner. This is what I was talking about with different strategies, even in different maps. He throws it into the corner and kind of surrounds it as if he was a pit bull protecting his food, or a wolf, or some sort of wild animal protecting his food, as the student teacher tries to hit him from different angles. And that was like kind of the premise of that battle. Like, is he going to be able to get the ball out of the corner so he can like kind of make this more of a speed endurance round than an overall strength like battle? And eventually the student teacher is able to get the ball. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lone. Did this go to overtime or no?
I don't think so. There was only a couple that did.
I don't think this went into overtime. So eventually the student teacher is able to, he doesn't able to retrieve the ball, but he's able to get the ball in a position where the arm wrestling champion has to actually physically hold the ball. And he does that within the last 30 seconds after posturing for a good minute. And then the student teacher flips him and then grabs the ball at the last second. Not the last seconds. He grabs it within 30 seconds left. And after he has the ball, you see the arm wrestling guy go to work. He lifts this guy's whole body. You can tell he weighs maybe, I think he might weigh like double his weight, and just slams him down. So you're just seeing the last 30 seconds. This guy's getting up and down, up and down. And like, you're just hoping like, okay, like eventually, like he like even if the time's running out, that he could like one blow to the like down can make the ball release. So like that was an intense little fight. What do you think of that? I'm calling it death match. What do you think of that death match?
Yeah. Yeah, so that guy, the arm wrestler, he reminds me of like when I used to watch this show called World's Strongest Man, and all these people that have like this, they're like built like trucks, and they just like like didn't he say? I think he said he has like the like one of the deadlifting like records for Korea. So yeah, I wasn't. I think obviously like the 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 arena that the challenger picked was like easier focus to him because he was not gonna like win a straight up like wrestling match with this guy who's like 200 pounds bigger than him. So that was like a good strategy to pick that arena. But I think it was a lot closer than like even the people that were spectating thought it was gonna be. And I don't even think I remember like who ended up winning. Like
The smaller guy won at the end. So what happened? So he got the ball and then he kind of sat on it for a bit, and there was only like 30 seconds left, and the big guy started just slamming him down, trying to get it released, and he just held on. So that was the ending of that one. I thought it was a good match. I got a question about Okay, so I got two questions for you. One of them is so like I've noticed this a lot in Korean I'd say reality shows. I know you haven't watched that many. So they do this thing where like they love doing the replay shot when stuff happens and then like everyone reacts like, "Oh,
yes,
oh." Like I found that charming like the first 5 times, but it started to get on my nerves a little bit.
where they play like they have like one clip and then they play it and then they like overlay it and it's like the last 3 seconds and it's like 3 times. Like
Yeah.
that was one of the things when I was watching when I was like this must be like something that's like in this genre because I don't know I because I wasn't like really used to it and I kind of found it annoying.
It is a bit frustrating, but like sometimes it's cool to see people's reactions from like you kind of get different angles of the same shot with the reacting voices, which like I'm like okay with, but I can find out how it's kind of annoying. So okay, Lone, this is a question. So we're done talking about the physical challenge 100 episode 1 and 2, but let me give you this question. Okay, you have to go into the arena with Josh.
Oh
Which
god.
Okay, yeah. You know where this is going. You have to go to the arena with Josh. Which arena are you picking? Are you picking the park or are you picking the pit?
Probably the park because I've never wrestled anyone, so I don't know how I'm gonna do wrestling anyone. Like I just don't have any like knowledge or experience. But I feel like there's a lot more. There's a lot more like not only like there's a lot of room and different like those set pieces that were there like to do things with, but there's just a wider range of like different moves that you can do like within the park or as in the like wrestling circle it's kind of just like oh there's the circle and then there's the outside of the circle so it's kind of more limiting in what you can do.
Do you think you got him if you did it in the park? Let's lower the time. Let's make it like a minute, because 3 minutes is a lot, and we're not in the best shape like them. Like these people are like tip top shape, and they're like dead after like 3 minutes. Let's say,
Yeah, I don't know anything about Josh's stats so
Josh, that's a call out. So when Josh comes back next week, I'm gonna ask him the same question. I want to see
oh
what he
my
says
god.
about it. I got my money on you, but I just wanted to talk about that. So uh so
Was it
next oh sorry.
was there anybody that like stood out to you like in terms of characters?
In terms of characters, I really liked the ice climbing dude was pretty cool. I like that. I know of the MMA fighter a little bit, so like I kind of had like inclination towards him to like oh like this guy's I there this show's really good at like making like underdogs and making me want to cheer for them. So like I found myself cheering a lot for like the leaner dudes in these big battles, and I thought that was fun. So like
Did
I don't have an outward like favorite per se, but like I don't know. Let me get to this, bro. For real, the Korean shows do this all the time. Like, you'll have like a show that's like the cast is majority Korean, and then you'll just throw like two white dudes on the cast or something. And I'm like, for real, we don't need this. Like, it's some German dude comes out of nowhere, and I'm
That's
like,
I was gonna talk about him because he stood out to me. Florian.
like he could be a great guy. It's just odd to me that like they do this on some other shows like Society Game, some other shows. They'll put like Society Game less so because the guy is half Korean, but they'll just put like a foreigner in, which like okay, diversity, but like this is a show basically based in Korea. And then did they introduce the? I wouldn't say like the. Did they introduce the black fellow? Like they didn't introduce that guy. Like
Yeah, I
I
was looking at like where I was trying to go with that. Like I was looking at all the Americans because well, I don't know that they're Americans, but like they're the ones that stood out because they're not like native Korean. So like it was the black guy, which was Miracle. He's the dancer, and then Florian. He's like this German guy. He says he's like he has a German body, but like his soul is Korean or whatever.
yeah, but
And then
did they
the
introduce him?
and then also the baseball player Nipper. And so like
I forgot he was
yeah,
there.
I thought it was interesting how there were just like these three like non-native Koreans because obviously they stood out and they didn't even really get that much airtime. I think Florian like he got a lot of voiceovers in like in the commentary during the like different matches, which is that's another thing that's interesting to me is that like instead of like a host or anything, it's like this show like leans on like the other kind of like give commentary during the matches. But yeah.
I just found it odd. Like all power to them, but like it's just a thing I feel like they do a lot. Like I know you don't watch a lot of Korean reality TV, but like they'll just interject like a foreigner a lot, and I just find it a bit odd.
Did
Uh,
you watch Singles Inferno, that show?
I okay, so there was a guy on here that was from Singles Inferno. I watched the first two episodes of Singles Inferno. Did not notice that was him.
Yeah,
So
because I like did some more research and apparently he was on like another show too. So like this guy's like a media darling, I guess.
well, they said they had a little joke where it's like, "Oh, this is Mr. Netflix." I'm like, "Okay." They know this
Yeah.
guy's like a TV guy. So I thought that was kind of fun. So I'm going to say I don't know about next week, but going forward, we're going to talk about the physical 100 again. I don't know if we're going to do batches of episodes or we'll just do the rest of the series, it depending on what these guys want to do. But we will be talking about the show again because, like, overall, like, what do you think of the show? Did you like it? Like, would you, was it enjoyable?
Yeah, I was kind of like trying to do some more research, but I didn't want to like spoil anything or know anything. I mean, I saw that there's like some controversy, so I'm interested to see what that's about. Like, I think
I looked it
some of
up.
it's related to like the final episode, and I think it even got like spoiled on the winner. But I don't care as much because like I don't know these people really. So like honestly, they're kind of like not. I'm sure they're all like fine people, but like sometimes it's just harder to like remember each individual person.
I looked it up. No, I didn't. I looked it up. Like, I look up physical 100 because I wanted to look up something, and then it's like controversy is the second thing. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Controversy?
I want to know like what happened. I think like apparently the finale was controversial, and there's like I checked the subreddit for the show, and there's like a whole like thread on like oh these different people that were in the show spoke out about the show, and apparently like it's in danger of like not even having a season two because there were injuries and stuff.
I'm gonna hold off on looking at any of that stuff till I finish the show. But in the future, Josh really wants to talk about the show as well. So we're gonna. I think probably we're just gonna watch the rest of the series and talk about it. So what do you think that would probably work best?
Yeah,
And on that note, before we leave tonight, we're gonna just do a quick what did we watch this week? So Lone, what have you been watching this week?
not much. I am behind on Big Brother Canada because like I worked nights this week, so I'm basically the whole week behind since they decided to put 3 episodes in a row. But I've been like, I started watching a couple months ago the Traitors Australia because I was into like the other versions of the Traitors, and I've been like basically catching up on that. I think I'm on episode like 4 or 5, and it's been picking up. They not really spoilers, but like they just voted out one of the traitors, so and they're about to like recruit another one. So yeah,
Interesting.
it's getting really interesting. I feel like from what I saw that like the Australian version was probably the most liked, and it was the one that like it aired like in the fall, like before the US and UK came up, so it was kind of like the main introductory version for a lot of people since it's like it was basically the first English speaking version. So yeah, I'm hoping to finish that, and I want to get into like a lot of the other like international versions.
Damn. No, I gotta check out Traders. I haven't checked it out yet. But Lone, I know I'm gonna bring up something and you're gonna be upset. There's something I want to talk about, and it's the challenge world champions.
I told Mehdi I was not going to talk about the challenge. I did not bring it up. He brought it up. Joshua and Mehdi are always talking about like all you talk about is the challenge. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to talk about it. And yet here he's the one that's like bringing it up this time.
Because this week, I think this week or the last 2 weeks, there's been a thing where I think all sports the challenge world champions. I have not been following the season, but I've been seeing clips on Twitter that have kind of piqued my interest. So I've seen this clip where it's Sarah Lacina from Survivor and
Yes.
Johnny Bananas going at it. So like, what was the context a little bit behind that clip? Because like I just saw them fighting, and I see like a lot. It's kind of weird. People that don't like Bananas will be like, Sarah had a good point, and people that don't like Sarah be like, oh, Bananas knew what he was talking about. Like, what do you think? Like, what was the fight basically about? Like, who were they going to put in?
Well, yeah, so they're both on like Team USA. It's kind of complicated because like basically it's basically like a half, like half foreign and half USA cast. So there's like the different teams, like there's, each team has like its own country designation, but like just because you're an American, you can still be like on Team Australia because your partner is Australia and they're the ones who get like the country name. So yeah, basically there's like this alliance, like there's a USA alliance with like the USA teams that are like made up of the legends and the players from Challenge USA, and then even some of the players that are legends, but they have like foreign partners. And so there's just been like this war brewing like on the USA side because Danny and Sarah and like Justine to a lesser extent, they're basically not, like doing exactly what Bananas, Tori, like the USA legend side. They're not, doing what they want them to do. The other week they kind of like, um let them have their way, but like Danny's with Tori and he's not letting her have their way. And basically, Sarah, in the clip that you're talking about, Sarah doesn't like the way Bananas is talking to her. And basically, the one part I remember was that Bananas was like, oh, well, if I was going on your show, The Survivor, I would want to like kind of take a back seat and let the legends teach me how to play the game. And I was thinking like he would not do that at all. He doesn't have the ego to let anybody else
Well, on that
tell him what to do.
note, Johnny Bananas, like the show is different. Like Sarah's already come, and spoilers for Challenge USA, come and won the show. What did she have to prove? Like she's 1 for 1. You know what I mean? Like, like he just sounds like, and I just what I hate sometimes about like challenge legends. They act like, oh, the vets. This we know how to play. Like some of you don't. Some of you just never win, and like it's only a select few of you that play the idiot vets that always make it to the finals and win. And so and like to his credit, Johnny Bananas is one of the dudes that plays the dumb vets, gets to the final and wins. So like I get him being like threatened, but like he's he just talks nonsense sometimes. Like I enjoy him sometimes, but he's talking nonsense in this regard. And on the same note as the challenge, CBS challenge, you see the cast?
Challenge USA too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have thoughts. What are yours?
Well, first of all, Joseph being an alternate again is just like he cannot catch a break. Like I saw this tweet that was like, if there's one thing, it's gonna be Joseph as an alternate on the show. But Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up again. I think it's like an interesting mix because there's like originally people thought that it was gonna be like mainly people that were like on the world championship and stuff, but there's actually a lot of people in here that haven't been around for a couple seasons, and I think part of that is that we like there's usually like two challenge seasons every year, so it can get kind of repetitive. But like this last year, there was only like one season in between, like the end of 2022 or the end of 2021 and the end of 2022. So it seems like we haven't seen all of these people for a while, but we actually they were on the last season. It's just the last season was over a year ago. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people that haven't been on it like since that weren't on like the last main season, and there's also people who haven't been on in a couple seasons.
Um, I
Yeah.
got a question for you. So, maybe I'm not familiar with the first Challenge USA cast. Did they have a lot of people from the MTV show? Because what I've noticed is that this one has a decent amount of people from the mainline show, on this season. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, so on the first season, wait, sorry, I think my mic cut out. So the first season, the whole like premise was that it was all new players. It was all just people from CBS. So there was no veterans from MTV.
Yeah, that's I'm looking at the cast now. That's what I thought. So that's why I'm confused. That I'm sorry, we do not need to see Tori Deal on this. We do not need to see. We don't need to see any challenge people on this. I liked it as a kind of like a side show. I feel like they're trying to move the main show onto the CBS thing ever since the merger, or ever since them being under the same parent company. And I don't like that because who are they bringing? They're bringing Fessie's bum ass. They're bringing okay. They're bringing bananas. Why is Josh Martinez on my screen? I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't
yeah, a
need
lot
him
of
on my screen
people,
anymore.
yeah, a lot of people are like they thought the whole plan overall was just to like transition this to end the show on MTV and like transition it to CBS, and like this would be part of it because they're trying to like introduce the MTV people to like the CBS audience. But I don't think that's true. Like there's been like more spin-offs than ever before. Like I don't think the World Championship thing happens again. Like, and if it does, it's probably going to be like in a different format because like this is the only one that's confirmed to return. Like we don't know about like Australia, UK, and Argentina, but
See, with
yeah,
this.
the
Oh,
I
sorry.
think I would prefer like how some people were saying like if this was just like all CBS. I do think that they picked some interesting people like in terms of CBS, and I do think that they've missed some people. But yeah, it's very interesting because obviously like ever since like the CBS people started coming on the challenge, you've had like the purists of MTV be like, oh, we don't want like the CBS people. There was the whole thing, like, even like on the show, like there was the whole thing with like Big Brother sucks. Like they've been saying that a couple seasons ago. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, the thing is, okay, even I can play about Josh Martinez, but even he played Big Brother, so he is under the scope. But I don't think we need bananas or Tori is purely from the challenge. Darrell's purely from the challenge. Nelson is purely from the challenge. Is that Nelson or Corey? Is it Corey on the cast? I think Corey. My bad.
Corey, yeah,
Sorry, Corey. This picture. What the hell? Um, Corey's on the cast, and I don't think we need them on this show for it to succeed because it's gonna be I feel like they're gonna bring that kind of the challenge vet mentality to the USA show, and I feel like it's kind of gonna ruin the experience, to be honest. Because I think the good thing about this is that these are all most of these are people that have never played it. They have a couple people that returned from season one, but
yeah,
it's just I think it's more fun that way. To just see what would happen to a new crop of people playing.
yeah. I
So
don't mind. I don't really mind the people like you said, like Josh. Like if they're if they're originally from CBS, like you have people like Paulie on here who we haven't seen Paulie forever, but yeah, Paulie, Fessy, people that originated on CBS. I don't mind because this is a CBS show, and so a lot of people like somebody in one of my groups was saying it's probably going to be interesting to see like what CBS, fans think of them now because they probably don't watch the challenge, but they might not even be aware that like, oh, they've had this whole other, career continuing on the challenge, and they come back to a CBS show. But another thing about that's interesting about this is that like it's rumored to be a Paramount Plus exclusive, so it's
Is
not
that
even
what
going
it's
to
gonna
be
be?
on CBS.
Interesting. It's interesting. I'm looking at some of the alternates. You got Kayla that was on the first season, Hannah Chada, Lulu Gonzalez from Amazing Race. You got Cinco. I think Cinco probably should have been on here. He was entertaining. Uh Joseph and then Kylan. Man, Kylan cannot get on a show. Like, was Kylan on the show last time? I think he
Yeah,
was. Did he bring anything? I don't even remember him bringing anything.
I
Honestly,
don't
good thing
think
they
so.
kept him out. I
Not
don't think he
really.
brought anything. Yeah. I have to. Who do you think's like the best? I can tell you who I'm most excited about. It's probably not a popular opinion. Who are you most excited about? Like that they brought into like this challenge cast.
I don't. Wait, do you watch The Amazing Race?
Not really. Is
Yeah, I
this
don't know
some?
anything about this guy from The Amazing Race, but apparently he was like on Kayla's season.
Is it Dusty Harris?
Yeah.
Is he like? Did you do some research on him and does he look interesting or
Oh
something?
no, I don't know. That wasn't like I didn't that wasn't the answer to the question, but like I don't know. I'm interested. I like Corey. Like I'm a fan of Corey, no matter even though he might have some questionable health beliefs. Like I'm a
Ah,
fan of Corey, and he hasn't been on in a while, so I like that. And honestly, Paulie's entertaining. I don't care what you say. Like he hasn't been on the main show in like probably 3 or 4 years, and I think a lot of people have been wanting to see him back. So the fact that him and Kara like aren't blacklisted, like people thought, because Kara is going to be on All Stars 4. I think it's interesting that like they're deciding to go back to the well with him because say what you want about Paulie Calafiore, but he is entertaining. Also,
uh,
also
I was gonna
Tyler
say
from Big Brother
person
20.
I'm most excited to come on the challenge. I think because he kind of has the build for it. I don't know about his like let's be honest. Like the challenge is like about groupies. Like I mean, I know there's a lot of like there's not as much strategy as you would think, but like in the US version, they added a little complexity, so I can see how it'd be more strategic. But I think Tyler would be really good in these physical challenges. He kind of has like that lean surfer frame, and I think that always like kind of like Tyson, it aids well to like him doing well at these type of challenges. You know?
Yeah, and then like he always said that like he was well. To be fair, both of them, Tyler and Angela, both said that they were like done with TV, and then Angela came on this, and then they broke up. So yeah, I think it would have been even more interesting if like they were on the same season, or if even if Angela was on this season, but because Angela was obviously a standout from USA
Yeah,
and
she's more of
made
a
the final,
standout.
and then kind of just like spurted out at the end.
She's more of a standout, I think, in the challenge than she was in Big Brother.
Yeah.
So that was a big, and it might be the opposite for Tyler because he was a standout in Big Brother, right? So, enough challenge. Just a quick, so we can like finish this podcast. Um, what I've been watching is I watched the Physical 100. I've been watching Love Is Blind. That is getting increasingly more frustrating because they'd like to give me a second loan, just vamp for a little bit.
Oh, Love is Blind. Sometimes love can be blind. I don't like. I told them I don't watch those. The the dating shows. The only one I'm kind of interested in is like Perfect Match, but only because it has like the Netflix people that like. I watched The Mole. I was a big like the Mole person, the reboot of The Mole, so it has some of those people on it. So that's like the
I
main
didn't.
reason I'm
I haven't
interested
watched
in
them
it.
all yet, but like I watched Will and
But you watched Perfect Match?
I watched Perfect Match.
Oh, okay.
Uh, okay, so on that Love Is Blind aspect, so like I know this is like so initially when Love Is Blind came out, they released it during the mid-pandemic. I'd say probably like March 2020, and it was just dropped on us. It was beautifully dropped, like all the episodes at once. And I know why Netflix is going back to this format where they're doing 3 episodes like each week, but like I just don't. And I know they're gonna do this to me. Is they get to the part where I know this is called the Physical Challenge Podcast, but I'd love to just rant about this a little bit. They're at the altar, and then they show that the woman had said yes, and then they do all this build up. There's 4 minutes left in the episode. You have enough time to tell me whether this guy said yes or no. And they're like, nah, we're gonna make you wait and then give you a 2-minute preview of stuff that had already happened. Not even a preview. It was a recap. And
Yeah,
goodness,
Netflix is obsessed with their cliffhangers. That was like the one of the things I wasn't sure about with Physical 100 because like we're through like I watched 3 episodes. I finished the third episode today, and they're still like on the first quest. So it's like I understand they're not gonna have like as much to show later on probably because there's less people. But I don't know. They're just so married to like cliffhangers. It's like it doesn't matter for me. I'm probably gonna watch like 2 or 3 in a row anyway. But I do like that Physical 100, they don't really rely on like a recap or anything. They just kind of like get you right back into the action.
yeah. That's all I want to talk about the Love Line. And Survivor this week. I know we're heading towards. We just merged, but we're heading towards the real merge now. That's quite interesting. I really don't know where this season's gonna go. Like they have the tribal things, the tribal setups, but they're not showing a lot of different perspectives other than like Carolyn, Yam Yam. Like you've been keeping up to the season, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? They're not showing a lot of different perspectives. Like I don't know what Lauren's thinking really, or Heidi. We One thing I get from the show is we know what Jamie's thinking. Everything she's thinking is often wrong, so that's entertaining. Uh, I've been enjoying this season of Survivor so far. I know it started off a bit rocky, but like I feel like it's about to hit its stride. What do you think about it? Just a quick, you can give me like a quick 1 minute note of what do you think about the season?
Yeah, I feel like it's still pretty wide open. There's not really a clear favorite, and maybe what you're saying, like, hopefully the fact that they've merged will, give more people who might not have been like in the spotlight on their own tribe some time to like come out and be more included in the edit. There's another like weird twist, or I don't know if it's a twist coming up where Jeff's like, "Oh, you might not have a say in like who goes home." So we'll see
Fingers
about that.
crossed.
I
It's
don't
some
think it's as daunting as like as they want you to believe.
Well, fingers crossed. It's just some sort of stupid challenge thing where like if you compete, like you don't like so something where you don't get a vote if you compete or something. I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. That's all good. Okay, Lone, you want to give out your handles to the audience?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Lone Ranger 158, and you can follow the show at Physical Child Pod. I think we've like been getting more viewers. It might have something to do with me posting on Instagram, but yeah, it looks like the viewership's been going up. So
Well,
happy to report that.
that's good. It's positive growth. Any growth, positive growth. You can follow me at Aljabiri23 on Twitter. Um, Hopefully Josh is here next week. We have a tentative. We can tentatively say we might talk about the physical 100 next week. I would greatly
Put it
like
in pencil.
appreciate that, but like I'd say put it in parentheses. We're most likely going to talk about that. But other than that, I think we're done for today. Thank you for listening. This is Mehdi signing off. Lone, you want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye.